Hi, I'm Nigel Marsh, and this is the 5 of My Life podcast, the show where 5 choices reveal sideways insights into the lives, opinions, and lessons of interesting people. April, welcome to 5 of My Life.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Now, for those listeners who might not know you, would you mind introducing yourself, maybe telling a little bit about your role and where you're speaking from?
Yeah, so my name's April Jardine, and I'm from central Victoria, which is around Castlemaine, Bendigo region, so central goldfields. So I guess you could say it's a sleepish town, but there is certainly more people coming from Melbourne for a sea change, which is nice. So I'm a mum and a midwife and a wife and an auntie. And, you know, as I was thinking about that, I'm like, I don't know what order of all of those things I am, but I am all of them. But I love my midwifery and my profession. You know, it's funny when you think back to how you ended up where you are. And, you know, I remember I was back in high school and, you know, you're in year 10 thinking, you know, what do I want to do? Where's my life going to lead me? And I was actually thinking, do I want to do teaching or midwifery? And I've got an older sister and she goes, well, I'm going to do teaching. So I thought, well, I can't do the same thing as you, so I better do midwifery. And yeah, I've always had a love for mums and babies, and both my parents are in the nursing profession, and you know, my father's an honorary midwife. He was one of the earlier midwives, and he didn't stay in actual clinical work for a long time because he ended up going to become a uni lecturer. But I think, you know, that certainly had a big influence on my choices. And, you know, I remember I was doing my nursing placement, and during my nursing placement, I got an opportunity to go in an area of interest. And I was like, yes, great. I'd love to go have a look in maternity. So I got to go up to the maternity ward, and I remember I got to go into a birth, and it was the first birth I'd ever seen besides on the movies. And this baby was born, and I remember it looked a little bit blue and a little bit slimy, and the woman wasn't on her back in the bed. And I thought, wow, that's what it actually looks like. And yeah, I remember standing there going, that was pretty amazing, pretty, you know, different to what I actually was thinking, but how amazing to be a part of that journey for that family. And, you know, it is a real privilege what we get to do.
That's wonderful. So how long have you been in the profession?
So I was a nurse, did my nursing grad year, and then I jumped straight into midwifery, and that's where my passion has been moving forward. So I've been doing midwifery for about 19 years now. 19
years, and I gather that you were Midwife of the Year last year, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. And, you know, that was a real honour and a privilege. And I think, you know, I've moved along in my profession, and going across into a continuity of care model into that area has just been really refreshing and amazing. And, you know, we talk a lot about how continuity of care is the gold standard, but to actually move into that area and to be a part of it and witness and see it has been really revitalising for my midwifery practice too, to go back in and see that physiology of birth and, you know, empowered women is really hard to explain to people, but, you know, to stand there and see a woman give birth to her baby and feel really empowered and overjoyed and to have those support people around her where she's just in awe of, you know, what she can do and feels really proud. And, you know, from that experience it's just really lovely to be a part of. And it's like, that's why I'm a midwife. That's why I'm here, to help you to be your best and to get the best out of, you know, what you can do and to be proud and support you.
I mean, I can't think of a more noble profession, personally, as somebody who's spent his life working in, you know, corporations rather than, you know, we have workshops about finding our purpose. I mean, I can't think of anything more important than what you guys do. But moving on to the 5 of my life, here we go. How did you find the process?
Yeah, it was, it's really good to kind of stop and reflect and think about, okay, well, why did I choose those things and how do I relate to them? And, kind of think of a few funny stories along the way. It's been really good.
Well, you're going to take us through a journey through the 80s, 90s and noughties with your first three choices. And we always start with the film on Five of My Life. And you have chosen what many people regard as the greatest Australian film ever made, the 1997 classic The Castle. Tell us why you chose that.
Yeah, so, my home is my castle. So I chose that one because I can really relate to that with the house that I actually live at. So the house that I'm in is the house that I grew up in. So we moved there when I was 2 years of age, and I did actually move out of home. But it holds so many great memories for me, that house. I'm sure that I gave my parents lots more grey hairs when I held my 18th birthday party there. And there's lots of funny memories. We've got a cattle grid, and I remember, friends falling over the cattle grid. We've got a pond, and people, wandering around in the dark ended up in the pond. And it was quite, I was kind of oblivious to most of it, but I was soon told about all the things that happened the next day, and we kind of, had a bit of a laugh about it. But I didn't take pity on them, because then for my 21st, I said, yes, we'll have that there as well. And that was a great night as well. And just to finish my parents off, I said to them, I think I'd like to get married at our house. And so, I said to my dad, I said, this is really great motivation for you to finish all those jobs around the house that you said you were going to do for the last 10, 15 years. Now you need to do them. So all those, those jobs that get put aside got done, and we had a really nice wedding there. And then a few years later, Vic Roads were redeveloping the Calder Highway, and one of those routes was actually to go through the house. So it relates back to the castle. So it was kind of really quite confronting. Going, wow, is this house that holds so many memories going to be demolished, because that was one of the plans, or will it go near it, or we didn't know what was going to happen with the house. I wasn't living there at the time, but I think it was quite hard, and the whole consultation and decision process took quite a long time with Vic Roads. So in the end, my parents sold the house to Vic Roads, so it went to them, and they had that and the road didn't actually go through the house, which was great. It sort of come around behind it. And then, so when the highway was finished, my husband and I were actually looking for somewhere else to live. We both come off a little bit of property, so we were currently living in an estate, and we kind of thought, well, we've got a couple of kids now, it'd be great to have a little bit more space. So we were looking around, and it just so happened that the house was coming up for auction from Vic Roads. So we're like, well, why not? It's got everything we want. It's got lots of great memories for us. So we went to the auction and put in our bid and put up a great fight. We knew a few little secrets about the house that other people didn't know about, so we kind of made them known to try and put off the other buyers. And it all came into place. So we got the house back, and my mum come up to me and she's like, "Oh, April, it's like you've had another baby."
That's such a lovely story. So you rebought the family home.
Yeah, we did. And and my youngest son was 6 weeks when we moved in, and my daughter was pretty much the same age as what I was when we moved there as children. So yeah, it holds lots of memories.
So this is wonderful. So you live in the house that you lived in when you were 2 years of age. Mm-hmm. How old are your kids now?
So my daughter's 17 and my son's 15.
And I would imagine they still live with you at
Yes.
that age.
Yes.
In the house that you were in when Mum was too. That's just fantastic.
That's it. I will say though, Nigel, it was a little bit strange because my parents were still building their house when we moved in. So they actually moved back in to the family home with us. And then my brother had been overseas, so they came back and lived with us for a little while as well. And I remember saying to them all, right, nobody is allowed to have the same room that they were in when we were growing up because this is weird.
Oh, that's just gorgeous.
So yeah, it was quite funny. We knew the house well, so it was good. But we did have to make some changes to make it feel like our house, and that that we weren't in my parents' bedroom. So we did have to do some changes just to make it feel a little bit different.
I wonder if it will stay in the family in future generations. Wouldn't that be fantastic if either your son or daughter moves there? The second choice on Five My Life is always the book. And I have to thank you for choosing this because I've never read any of Matthew Riley's work, but my younger son is an absolute devotee. He's read them all. And you have chosen the 7 Deadly Wonders, as it's titled in America. It's the 7 Ancient Wonders in Australia. It's the first Jack West Jr. novel. I loved it. Tell us why you chose that on Five My Life. 2005 he published it.
It's funny that you said that because both myself and my brother really like these books, so it is a nice connection there for us as well. But I love the books because they're a great sense of adventure, and usually when I pick these books up, we're going on our own adventure, and I can only read them when the whole series has been completed. So if it's a 7 series book, I just have to wait till they're all out. Because once I start, I can't stop.
So you can't, that fascinating. So you can't read 1 and 2 if you know there's going to be more written.
That's it. Yeah. So I have to just wait until the whole series is completed, and then I have to wait till we're going on a holiday because I just get quite obsessive and have to know what happens next. And I will confess, sometimes it gets the better of me, and I just have to know that everyone is okay. So I'll read the last couple of pages just to make sure everyone's alive and well.
That's not allowed.
I know. But then I can relax, I don't have to keep rushing and reading, and I can, I don't have to be up till 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning trying to get to the next part.
And how many Rileys could you read in a holiday?
Well, it depends on the length of the holiday. Usually I'll wait till we're going on, at least three weeks to a month, and then I can have a fair crack.
And what else do you like reading? Is it always action adventure, or have you got a broader reading list?
No, I think broader, but I do like mysteries and romance. But I guess because of my work, I just like light reading. Nothing that's too dense or that I've got to overthink. I just like a nice, easy read that, can either make me feel good or be action-packed.
It's wonderful when you've got a book that you actually look forward to picking up. I mean, I read all my guests' choices on this show, so I've read like 110 books now that I wouldn't normally have read. And some of them, I mean, I read them all. Some of them I have to sort of make myself read, but it's lovely if you have a book on the go that there's never any downtime, because if you have got 10 minutes downtime waiting for the kettle to boil, you think, I can read a couple of extra pages. And that's what I did with the 7 Deadly Wonders. I loved it. Short chapters. I could just always pick it up and crack out a few pages. Yeah,
that's it. And when I was reading them, we were actually doing the Gibb River Road. And I remember my husband was like, we'll just go out, we'll just deviate and go out to this point here because it's supposed to be really great. And it was around the time of COVID, so where we were actually going to go was closed off because of the community out there and the risk to them. And so then he was like, we'll go down this road and, I'm sure we'll get somewhere really nice to camp for the night. Well, I called it hell. And I was like, where are we going? Nobody knows we're here. It was the rockiest, steepest road that we had been on. And we got out there and we got out of the car. It was September and it was like stepping out into an oven. And I just thought, if we get a flat tire or something happens, like we are in serious trouble. and so then we found our campsite, and there was a beautiful ocean that we overlooked, and then there was a massive crocodile floating around down there. So you couldn't actually go too close to the water with fear of your life. And then I looked over to the other tip, and there was a big bull standing over there with massive horns, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, like, kids, you're not sleeping in your swags tonight. You're in the camper with us. And I was just like, oh, you've just taken us to the other end of the earth, and I'm not sure we're going to make it back out again. So the next day we got up and we did get out and back onto the road. But it did remind me of a little bit of a adventure.
It sounds like a Jack West for people who haven't read the book, is the main protagonist of the 7 novels, who is almost like a superhero, soldier, philosopher, just amazing. And it makes me want to ask you, slightly at a tangent, your views on leadership. What do you think makes in your experience in the profession and in life, what do you think makes a good leader?
For me, I think a good leader brings their team along with them. So, and I think you have to have faith in your team around you and really believe in them and give them the power to be able to go and do their job and go, yeah, I've got your back and I believe in you and I will support you to achieve your goals. That's really important. So, working with them and supporting them, and there's nothing worse, in my opinion, than a manager that micromanages you, and you're given a job to do, and then they come along and they either do it for you or they oversee it to so tightly that you actually can't do what you've set out to do. So really empowering your team to be their best and allowing them to flourish and continue to grow, knowing that you're there to support them in whatever way you can.
I love that answer, April. It is, why have a dog and bark yourself? In my career, gosh, I've had the privilege of working for some wonderful leaders, but also the utter hell of working for some, how you have described, who sort of stand over your shoulder and micromanage and demotivate, and yet you end up losing all your confidence and you go, well, blimey. You're supposed to be doing the opposite. So more power to you. I love leaders that can bring the best out in people. Now, your third choice on Find My Life, it's always the song. And you have chosen a song from John Williamson's 7th studio album, Boomerang Cafe. It actually won Best Country Album at the inaugural ARIA Music Awards in 1989. You've chosen the 6th track, Crocodile Roll.
And they were doing the crocodile roll, the canine and the reptile doing the crocodile roll in the middle of the river.
Tell us why you chose it.
Yes, it's quite catchy, really. And, I think when it first came out, the cassettes were still in the cars and we were going on our first big road trip to the Northern Territory. So we had this song playing and we're all singing away to, Crocodile Roll, and snap, off he goes. He gets eaten by the crocodile. And here we are going up to the Northern Territory with all the crocodiles. And, we had a great time being kids. I'm one of 5 children, so we're all sort of piled into the car and on a road trip up there singing away to Crocodile Roll.
Tell us about your siblings.
I've got 1 sister and 3 brothers, and most of us are still around the area, but my sister, she actually, it's interesting because we did, as children, we had family friends that were teaching up in Arnhem. So that's how we kind of got to go up there a few years in a row to spend some time with them. And, you had to get certain passes and things to be able to go into that part of the Northern Territory. And, we had some great experiences up there. But as we got older and my sister did teaching, she ended up going up and teaching up in the Northern Territory for about 10 years. So from that, each year when my children were young, we got to fly up to the Northern Territory as well and see all different parts of the Northern Territory and Alice Springs that we otherwise would never have seen and never got exposure to. So we got to go out to communities and see lots of different areas. That's been great fun. And then my brothers are tradies and another one works for the council. But my youngest brother, my sister and I always say that we brought him up, and he'll say that as well. And I think, anyone can appreciate when you're in a family of 5 that it's survival of the fittest sometimes. And it certainly makes you really appreciate everything that you've got and how hard that your parents actually do work to get you to where you are. And, sibling rivalry is always there. And, I think even with my kids now, I say, they play well, fight well. And I think that, stands true for us as a family as well. You certainly learn to be resilient.
Does your husband come from a large family or has he married into a large clan?
Yeah, he's probably more married into it. He's got 2 sisters and he's the only boy. So they're off a farm on the other side of Maryborough. So I would probably say he was quite spoilt, and his sisters would probably say the same as the only male off a farming family. We had similar but different upbringings but having the farm, has been really great, and it's been really great for our kids to be able to go out there and be on the farm and see how that sort of side of life works and to have all that space is really nice exposure.
Now, the 4th choice on Find My Life is the place, and you have chosen Bright. Could you describe it? Tell us where Bright is and why you've chosen it.
Bright is, for me, I think of it as over in the mountains, so it's not far from Hotham and Myrtleford. And
so this is in Victoria's high country?
Yes, sorry. The only downfall for me with Bright is that it takes us about 3.5 hours to drive there. And so, but it's such a picturesque place. For me, when you drive into Bright, it's got the beautiful mountains in the background. It's green in autumn. It's absolutely beautiful with all the colourful leaves dropping. You can go for walks or bike rides, and you can see the little mushrooms that you see on movies with the red tops and the white
right
on them. So you can kind of imagine little fairies. It's quite it's so, for me it's such a beautiful place to just go and take a big breath in and just go, yep, this is just a beautiful place to go and get away from everything and relax and be in nature. But also there's heaps to do there as well. So, we always go there and stay in the caravan park right in the centre of town, because you pretty much go there, you don't get back in your car. It's got the beautiful Ovens River running through it, which is very icy cold, but just, that sound of water running, and it's always flowing. And then you can go off and go into town, or you can go off for a walk or a ride. For me, whenever we go there, it's, and we've been going there for quite a lot of years with the kids and with family, but also it's a great place to go with friends as well.
That's the perfect link, actually, to your 5th choice, the possession, because you mentioned that Bright is the perfect place to go for a walk or a ride. And on the subject of ride, your choice of a possession is your mountain bike. Would you mind telling us about that? First of all, maybe describe it.
Yeah, so I do love my mountain bike. So it's a giant mountain bike, and it's got good suspension, which is really great. It was like a maroony sort of pink colour, and it was gifted to me from my mum, who used some of the inheritance money that she got when her mother passed away to buy it for me. So it was really special, and had that links. And when I was a teenager, I did a lot of bike riding with my sister and friends, and then life got in the way. So, just started working full time, and then had children, and so I hadn't been on a mountain bike for a long time. So to get gifted this bike it was really special. And my sister-in-law she'd got into mountain bike riding as well, and there was a group locally who were mountain biking. So I joined that and we went out, and it's such a great thing because it's really social and we have lots of really great talks and chats along the way, and you just push yourself to your own level. There's no judgment by anyone. Everyone's just really happy to be out there and exercising and riding together and socializing. And our rides always take a little bit longer than and probably what other people's do, because we stop and chat, and certainly chat a lot as we ride, and then afterwards we usually can find a place to go and have a coffee and chat some more. So it's a really, it's a great release and a great way to connect with other people as well as being out and exercising and, having that ability to go as hard and fast or as slow and conservative as you want.
And are your fellow riders school friends or work colleagues or people from the local area, or a combination?
Yeah, they're a combination. A lot of us have kids, so it's always good to be able to debrief about your children. One's an old school friend, so I went to high school with her, and so that's really nice that we've been able to stay connected, and we've got children similar ages, and we've been able to maintain that friendship over time. And then others are local girls that we've just met through other connections. And, being a small community, you always do find connections somewhere along the way of things that you have in common or people that you know.
Now, before we get to the sixth choice, because although the show is called The Five of My Life, there are actually 6 choices, but I'll come on to that in a second. I've got 2 questions that I'd like to ask April. The first is, when you look back over your life, your career, it needn't be about your career, but what is the most useful mistake that you think that you have made? When you're talking to your riding buddies and you're reminiscing about your years on this planet.
Well, I always thought that I would travel more probably than what I did. But I think, I met my partner when I was only 19 and we stayed together, and, being a farmer and not so much into traveling, I probably didn't go and do that as much as I thought I would. But is a regret? No, not at all. I've certainly been enriched and had plenty of other things in my life, but it's probably one thing that I thought I possibly would have done more. But I think because I didn't do that, we go on lots of shorter adventures on holidays instead of working. We just go for enjoyment, which is just as much fun. But it's really important to step out of your comfort zone. And I think that's what I've really pushed myself to do more of, because stepping out of your comfort zone is where you learn the most a lot of the time.
Tell us how you met your husband, by the way.
Well, it's not that exciting a story. He was playing for the local football team, and I worked at the local pub.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So you had an eye for the sportsman.
Yeah, that's right. He'll tell you I always said that I was going to marry a Swedish fella.
Why on earth that? Why Swedish?
Because I always wanted someone with blue eyes and blonde hair, and I said, well, you met the criteria of the blue eyes and blonde hair, so I settled.
Well, my wife, everyone said she was going to marry a tall gentleman, and she ended up with me, and I'm most definitely not tall. But there you go. So life throws you curveballs sometimes. And now the second question, April, that I'm very keen to ask you is, what would you say to someone who is considering becoming a midwife?
I do get asked this a little bit, and, my answer is go for it. I do love the midwifery profession. I think, yes, it has changed over time. When you look at our profession, if you do your degree and you go into midwifery, and I always think it's great to do nursing and midwifery as a combined degree, because it's, an extra year, and it gives you that extra qualification, and it gives you even more choice again. But midwifery is definitely my passion, but I can see how nursing also complements that. It's really good to do both, because if you don't like the clinical work, there is still so much more that the profession can offer you. You can go and branch off into so many other areas. There's quality, there's management, there's so many other areas that you can go into if the clinical work and the shift work isn't for you. But also going into a group practice where you can do that continuity of care. I mean, it has been really rewarding to go and do that. I think we become midwives because we feel really passionate about what we do, and we really love to know our women and the women that we're caring for, so we can provide really good quality care. So to have those connections with those families and for them to come in and to trust you and to have that relationship, that is just really rewarding. So yeah, would I say go in and, why would you want to be a midwife? Yeah, I would say definitely go for it. And if you are passionate, you will stay in the career for a long time, and, you'll never be bored.
Wonderful. And it's International Midwife Day coming up.
Yeah, which is, it's always really great to celebrate International Midwives Day. And, I think if you talk to anyone who is in the profession, they'll say that midwives are special, and we won't disagree. We do think we are pretty special, and we really love the fact that we had to fight a lot for our profession and for our profession to be standalone and recognised. So I think it is really important to celebrate midwives and everything that we do for women and empowering them.
It's been just wonderful. Thank you for coming on the show. I would need to ask, have you listened to any other episodes? Don't worry if you haven't, but have you listened to any 5 My Life episodes?
I have listened to the one with Mary.
Yep.
It's really great to listen to other people. I didn't want to listen to too many and put too much pressure on myself.
The reason I ask, April, is at the end of every episode, whether it's Richard Glover who nominated Julia Gillard, so I get Julia Gillard, or it's Julia Gillard who asks Tim Minchin, so I get Tim Minchin, I'm going to ask you, the sixth choice is, who would you like to hear on 5 My Life next, and why? And it needn't be from the profession, it can be from the profession, but if you could wave a magic wand and the next guest was the person that you chose, who would that be?
I think Bree Bull would be a really great one. She is another fantastic midwife who I think has a really good lens on midwifery, and she stepped a lot into the education area and supports a lot of the services around Victoria through the education lens. So she's certainly got a lot to offer, and she is she's a fantastic person and a really empowering person, and really looks to how we can keep making our profession better. So yeah, I think she would be a good one.
April Jardine, thank you so much for coming on to the show and respecting the format and telling us your stories, and travel well. And thank you for the work that you do, and all love and best wishes for the future.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
Thank you for listening to the show, and thank you for all your messages with guest suggestions and feedback on the episodes. The 5 of My Life audience really is a lovely, engaged community. Please do keep the messages coming in. The best way is through my website. And if you have a friend who you feel might enjoy a particular guest, please do forward the episode on. I do the show on my own, so without a marketing budget, word of mouth really is the only way of people discovering the show.